Hey guys, Tom here from Embeddable. Embeddable is the developer toolkit for building fast, interactive, customer-facing dashboards directly into your product. And in this video today, I'm going to take you through how to set up your workspace and creating your first Embeddable. So as you can see from our landing page here, if you do just want to jump into a demo, you can book a call with us here. But if you want to have a go at it yourself, you can follow along by grabbing this script. So I grab this script and I head over to my terminal. Importantly, make sure that you've got Node installed. I've got version 20. You want to have version 20 or above. Make sure that that's installed. So yeah, let's run our script. What that's going to do is start our script here for setting everything up, and that's going to create a repository in your local directory with basically some sample data models and some sample themes and components so that you can build your first dashboard. It's going to ask here if I want to create it in my dev directory. I'm going to say yes, and then it's going to give me a folder name that I'm going to choose. So I'll go ahead, and what you can see here is downloading the boilerplate and then installing the dependencies. While it's doing that, we can head over to the documentation where I can just quickly show you what's actually happening behind the scenes. So if you want to do these steps yourself, you can actually do that. Head over to set up your workspace, which is available here as well. And behind the scenes, all that's happening is we're Git cloning our boilerplate into our local repository, CDing into it, and then installing these dependencies. So you can see it's now installed those dependencies. And the next thing it's asking for is an API key. And this is actually so that it can build it. And what will happen is those components and those models, they'll actually get pushed to your workspace. So what you need to do is quickly create a workspace. You can head over to embeddable.com/start. So I'll show you that. If I do embeddable.com/start, you'll see here, and you basically need to just choose which region. So whether you want your workspace to be in the US or EU, we're planning to add more regions very, very soon. And if you want others, you can reach out to us. But these are the two we support out of the box right now. I'll let you guys do that yourself. I've already set up a workspace, as you can see here. So once you've kind of created an account and created a workspace, it will look like this. It's empty for the moment, but what you can do is just quickly grab the API key. So we'll head back here, paste in my API key, and then it just needs to confirm which region. You can actually see here in the URL, so mine's in a US region. So I'm just going to make sure to pick US. And now what it's going to do is going to build that bundle. So again, while that's running, we can see in the documentation what's actually happened. So yeah, make sure that you've chosen the region. There's a kind of login step you can do. This is actually all handled for you by the script that we ran. And then it runs the build process and the push. And this is actually going to bundle up your components models and push them to your workspace. So you can see that's finishing up now. The build is completed, and it's pushing that using your API key to your workspace. Great. Okay, so that's opened up our documentation page. But I'm going to head back to my workspace, click refresh. And what you'll see is that's now been pushed, and we've actually got some example embeddable dashboards that we can play with. So maybe just to show you one of those. So for example, this is a sample dashboard using some of the components that are available within our sample component repository. The important thing with Embeddable is every single one of these components is actually backed fully by React.js components. So if you want to customize these, change these, add your own components, you can easily do that just using React.js. And throughout our documentation, we explain in great detail how to do all this. If you want to have a play with the dashboard, so this is actually the builder view. I can head over to preview. And this allows me actually as a user to kind of play with the data, interact with it as if I was a user. And I can even jump between, for example, different themes. So I might jump to dark theme, light theme. You can actually create custom themes on a per customer basis as well if you wanted, or per user, or different regions and things like that. So there's a lot of power to just make it look and feel exactly like your own platform. The real core thing with Embeddable is the end result looks and feels exactly like your platform. Just to give one other example, we've got this self-serve dashboard, which is another type of dashboard you can create in Embeddable. If I hit preview here, what you can actually see here is that you can enable your end user to, for example, come in, they can build their own dashboard. So maybe if I quickly pick a bit of data there, they can actually choose a chart they want to add to their dashboard. They can take this and they can move it around. So these are all things you can do. Now, as the very last thing, I just want to show you how to create your own embeddable dashboard. And just to note again, this is all covered in the documentation, so you can go to build an embeddable and it'll actually take you through the steps of building your own dashboard. If I click create new embeddable, what you'll see here is I end up with a empty canvas, which is our place where we can build our dashboard. So what I'll do is I'll click add components, and you can see some of the components that are available for you to play with. Maybe for now I'll add a bar chart like this one, and then it'll ask me to choose a data set. Now, just to point out, the interesting thing is that the data sets themselves are powered by data models which actually sit inside the repository that we've just created. So if I go back to my terminal and ls, you can actually see it's created a folder here, and within that there's actually all the files. So if I just use Sublime to open that up, or you can use any text editor you're familiar with, and what you'll actually see within the source code that's been created there is we can head over, for example, to our models, and you can see here these are actually the data models that power the dashboard. And so when you connect your data, you can create these data models, and what you do is you define what each of the columns are and things like that, which gives you fine-grained control over what the data looks like for your user. Again, this is covered in great detail if you head over to our either connect your data or the data modeling section of our documentation. So I head back to our builder, and it says create a data set. So I'm going to do that. And you can see here it's got the data models that are available from my repository here. So these are the models that are available in this example repository. And I'm going to pick one of those, and for now I'll just call it data. Importantly, we automatically connect your workspace to a sample database. It's behind the scenes, it's a Postgres database. You can very easily obviously connect this to your own data. So I pick this, and then what happens is automatically the measures and what we call dimensions are now available within this component. So I'll say, for example, total listens by country. Actually, let's pick some date information. So for example, I might say date listened by month, and then maybe we'll put in the country. And so once I add that, what we should hopefully see is a little bit of data appearing inside of this dashboard. But now what I want to do is actually add a filter, so we can have a bit of interactivity. So I'll add component, and maybe I'll scroll down, and let's add, for example, a date range picker here. So I'll just click add. So what you can see is I've actually got a date range picker added to my dashboard. If I head back over to preview so I can play with it, what you'll notice is if I actually change this, nothing's happening. And that's just because I haven't yet hooked this up to interact with the actual rest of the charts. And so the way that works as embeddable is that this component here is actually been linked to a variable here. You can actually see that if you click edit, and down here you can see that whenever the value changes, we're updating this variable. And so whenever we change something here, the variable changes, and so then we just need to hook up this variable to our chart. Importantly, our chart is then powered by our data set. So you get this kind of flow of data. So someone chooses a date, it updates a variable, and then we can go into our data set, and within our data set, we can actually add a filter and say, right, the date listened is actually, and I'll click link a variable here. And you can see here that what I've done is I'm saying I actually want the data to be filtered by the value selected by this. And this allows you to create this kind of flow of data. So if I now go back to preview and I say, for example, last quarter, you can see that it's then filtered that data behind the scenes. So hopefully that makes sense. Right, as a very last thing, let's try actually making this embedded into our app. And I'll do this just using a sample script. I'll show you this. So Well, I'm happy with my dashboard. What I'll do is I'll click save version. So let's call it my first version and save new version. So that's created a version, and I'm going to actually publish this, and I can publish it to, for example, development, staging, and production, depending on how you want to do it. For the moment, let's just say I'll actually publish it directly to production. So that's actually available now in production. And if I go over to how to embed, what it'll give me here is an API key and an embeddable ID that I can actually use to try this out. So I'll grab my API key, and then I'll head back over to my repository, which is my local repository here. And what you'll actually notice is that there's a scripts directory where we can play, and I can actually preview in HTML. So this is just a little script for trying it out. I'll just show you how this works. So up at the top, there's an API key section. I'm just going to replace that here. And then I'm going to grab the embeddable ID. So API key is global for your workspace, whereas the embeddable ID is specific to this specific embeddable dashboard. So let's update that and make sure the region's right. So I'm using US, so that's that. I'll show you a bit more of this in a second, but basically now what I should be able to do is if I run node and I go scripts here, and I should be able to preview in HTML. So I'm actually going to run this script, which is then going to open it up on port 8080. So let's go back to our browser, localhost 8080, and what we hopefully should see is now our dashboard, which has been shown like this, and we can interact with it. The important thing is, just behind the scenes, this is just an example script, but if I go to view page source, you can see how that embedding has happened. It's literally, added a script tag to the top of a HTML page, and then it's using this embeddable tag to place that in. And that's all that's required in order to do this. The one thing you need to do is you need to generate a token, which is most of the work of what that particular script does. But if you go to our documentation and you head over to deployment and then embedding your dashboard, what you'll notice is it explains exactly how to embed, and then it links to our tokens API, which is basically how you end up getting a token, which is where you get that kind of row level security built in. I hope that gets you guys started. Any questions, reach out. Best of luck.